Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Fresh Set. I'm Sabrina,
And I'm Kevin.
and we are here after the Belgian Grand Prix, which has been interesting. The
I
race
mean,
was interesting,
safe
the
to say
post
probably
race.
my favorite track.
Yeah, I would
Probably,
agree.
yeah. My favorite track. I don't know about yours.
It's
Um,
it's up there.
and it rained all weekend except for today. We didn't get a traditional. We
Spa.
saw we saw umbrellas, but they were just to keep the sun out.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just for sun. Yeah, so I everybody probably knows that George Russell won
Won for
the
the second time this year.
yes, he won the Belgian Grand Prix. And about an hour later, he was disqualified.
Yeah. So he went from everybody saying that he was the only multi race winner other than Max Verstappen
Yeah.
until all of a sudden he wasn't, and now Lewis is the only multi race winner.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a Mercedes 1-2, which was great for them.
Which I mean, and we'll talk about why that is. Mercedes
Yes.
did not have a great after race. They did, however, still put a collaborative post
Yeah.
on Instagram with McLaren of handing over the P2 trophy to
Yeah.
McLaren. I'm like, sense the tone in the room.
Yeah.
Nobody is happy. Lewis went home early. You didn't have a
Yeah.
team celebration.
No,
George, I'm sure, is lividly crying. And
absolutely.
Toto is Terminator all over the FIA. And that
Yeah.
your social media team is like, hey, look, us being buddies. Like, here
Let,
you
let's
go. Like, what is
let's
this?
just
It's not a
keep
buddy
the
film.
positivity.
No, like it was just the stupidest thing. I'm like, why would you post this? Why is this not going through some sort of like some kind of filter in the organization? Like maybe I don't want to post a great happy time of giving up this P2 trophy.
Well,
They didn't show them giving the P1 trophy to Lewis.
because Lewis was gone. He's on the
He was
helicopter out
gone.
of there.
He was
He's-
gone.
he-
He was out of there faster than Ocon when he was DQ'd in friggin' like
oh
lap
yeah,
10 of that
he was
thing.
in
And he was in
jeans.
civvies. Yeah, yeah.
He's in jeans.
It was that fast.
Yeah. Well, as you can tell, Kevin will have lots of rants today.
Oh my god.
He started a rant already.
That wasn't even my rant that I had
No,
planned, and there was so much
no.
more.
There's so
So
much
much
more.
more. I didn't want to talk about the race.
Well,
We'll talk about it.
I think everybody's a little shocked. George, the most shocked. But I would say free practice.
Free practice and qualifying, I
Great.
think, were interesting because it was spotted with rain. There
Yeah.
wasn't a lot of, you're not going to get race data, especially the way
Yeah.
we had it because
Yeah.
they weren't racing in the rain.
Right.
But it was spa conditions, and then they
Mhm.
didn't have a spa race.
Well, and that's what something that they were talking about this morning is that quali was done on inters.
Inters. Almost
So they really
was it
this
all of
track
it was
everybody
all three Q
uh,
qualities were
yeah,
on inters. Yeah,
on
yeah.
inters and everybody the track had been resurfaced since last year.
Which nobody had
So
complaints about. Everybody seemed to
no.
enjoy it.
They like the track.
Yeah, it seemed to be very grippy.
Yeah.
It seemed to really like it. There was actually a lot of. I guess they were kind of trying to figure out which tires are going to respond the best, which seemed to be the
Yeah.
hard tires seem to respond the best
Yeah.
to this track.
I think the only person that put softs on at all was Perez at the end.
Perez at the
To
end.
get the fastest lap.
Sainz started on the hards. Everybody else kind of started on the mediums.
Yeah.
Again, they didn't
So
really have any car data to go into
no.
the race, so
The other notable thing was that during one of the practices, Mercedes did bring some upgrades and they had to abandon the upgrades because it just wasn't working.
it was similar to. I think they broke curfew after the first session, after Friday.
Yeah.
It was trying to fix things, and then I think after Saturday, Red Bull broke curfew, or was it the other way, or was it last week? Anyway, either way, Red Bull broke curfew because they tried to put the old engine back into Max's, and then they put the new engine back in. So he took his grid place penalty, which he usually takes at this time of the year.
Yes, at this track. He
At this track.
did it before.
Well, because
So
he's done it. He's done it before, where he went from 20th to 6th, I believe, something like that. 2 or 3 years ago. And then last year he went from 11th to 1st, and he won the race. I mean, he's won the last 3 Belgium Grand Prix.
Yeah.
So it seems
yeah,
like a good race for him to take that penalty.
they know the car works well around that track, and he.
Well, they know Max does.
Yeah, fair.
They know Max does. Let's be honest.
Fair. Very fair. So I mean, I think that was kind of nothing really stand out for
red flags. Even qualifying. There wasn't really. I usually have it pulled up, but for some reason I don't have it pulled up here.
Didn't Lance?
The only no, not in qualifying.
Not in qualifying, in free practice.
In free practice, he did. Free practice 3 before they got into qualifying. He had to fix his car.
That's right. Which they did.
They did, yeah. He was up there. I mean, of no consequence.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's Lance. But the only thing really that maybe you have something more, but actually 2 things. The Haas were, I don't want to say untypically slow. Well, maybe in qualifying, yes. They were both out in Q1, which I wasn't expecting at all.
And which hasn't been normal for them over the last half of the first half of the season. They have been, at least one of them is getting out of Q1.
Usually Hulk, but yeah.
If not into Q3. So it was weird to kind of see them both out. We knew Yuki I think Yuki finished in 18th, but we knew he was going to be starting 20th because he changed
had a 60
everything.
Grid penalty. 60 points. And we've talked about this before. I think we talked about it after Pierre, where he had the 50 place grid penalty. Like, what's the point? I know you have to technically put it out there. This is worth this much. This is worth this much. This is okay. Fine. They can all be worth whatever the fuck they're worth. but just say he is
starting from the back.
He's starting from the back. He's not taking a 60 grid place, because they always do, like, some meme page will always put up, this is where he would start. If he's going to take a 60 grade place penalty, start him in sector 2.
Right?
You know what I mean?
He should. He's got to catch up to the back of the pack.
He's starting in the pit lane. Yeah. He's going to go after all the cars have gone, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, if it's something
inconsequential.
If it's something that's that bad,
ridiculous.
Maybe it's a pit lane start. Maybe it's not even on the grid.
But it was a pit lane start, wasn't it?
No, he was on the grid. 20th, yeah.
Oh, he was on the grid. Okay.
Yeah. So, when he gets to that, just put him in the pit lane.
The only reason it really matters is because Zhao took a 3 grid place penalty for impeding Max in qualifying, which Zhao qualified in 20th.
Yes.
So that would technically put Yuki 57 grids places instead of 60.
Yeah.
Behind Zhao. It's
just getting comical at this point, because we've had 2 of them this season so far. It's been really funny.
Like, all you have to do is put, like, okay, he's got a penalty for this, a penalty for this, a penalty for this. Okay, you can put in brackets, this is a 10 place grid penalty. This
equals,
this is a 10 place grid. You don't have to put this is
60.
He's got a 60 grid post, but no, he's got this, and this. This is what it's technically worth in brackets, and he will be starting in 20th.
Yeah, that's it. And end of the story.
You don't have to be so proper British bullshit that you got to say, like, this is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Like, fuck off.
You're having a day.
You're
having a day already.
I got a lot of heads today.
Jeez.
Yeah.
But, so that was...
Jesus.
And then the rest of qualifying was...
Perez.
Normal. Yeah.
Barely. There's the other point I had, was just Perez barely squeaking by into Q1, which he needed. Yes. He needed that Q1 start. Yeah. He knows his seat's on the line. He beat out a Williams by 7/1000ths of a second.
Yeah.
That is a fingernail.
Yeah.
Essentially, in an F1 car.
It was when I was looking at it, I was like, oh my God, he's out. He's out. And he cannot be out. Like this is the one race. He cannot be out. And
So
then,
it's the last race he had a chance at.
yeah. So he got into Q2 and then kind of comfortably got into
No, he
Q3.
got into Q1 at 7,000s because Albon made it into Q2. He only made it into Q1 or sorry Q3. Sorry, I keep going back and forth.
Yeah.
He made it
Yeah.
into Q3 by 7/1000s.
Right. That's, yeah. And then somehow, I wouldn't say somehow, but he ended up in third, which
He did have
Max,
a better showing in Q1.
yeah, Q3.
Yeah. Q3.
Uh,
You know,
I know what you mean.
I know. Everybody else doesn't.
But
That's fine.
so he
In
had,
Max style, FO.
yeah, he had great laps in Q3,
Yeah.
to the point that it got him into third. Charles had a good run, got him into second. Max had a killer run, which he needed.
I mean, Max was on top all weekend.
Yeah.
It didn't look like Max was going to be beat all weekend at all.
This is his track.
If he was in clear air,
yeah.
he was miles ahead. Like he was from second place, he was 6/10 of a second faster than Charles.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
And I mean, everybody else was behind that. So it's like, I don't know what happened.
And they were all much closer. They were all
in inters in the rain. Well, it wasn't raining, but
they were on inters. But
I
mean, to be more than half a second ahead on an inter.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was like that all weekend.
Yeah.
It was like that all weekend. Nobody was anywhere near touching Max.
Yeah.
Practices.
And so he got first, and then because he had his engine replaced, he was taking a 10-place grid penalty. So that dropped him down. So he needed to finish first. Yeah. So that, you can finish as
best case scenario, he starts in 11th.
Yeah. So that's what happened. And that moves Charles up, which moves Checo up to
second on the
second
grid.
as well. So
front row, sorry.
Yeah, which is great for him, for somebody that needed this rate. He absolutely needed it, and he got it. And then shit the
we
bed.
have had, I think it's 6 races in a row where the pole sitter has not won a race. I think it's 6 races in a row. And in Spa, specifically, I think it's 4 or 5 last Spas, where the pole sitter has not won the race.
Yes, and a lot of talk has been pole isn't the best position to actually get to have at Spa. You want to be second.
A lot of it has to do too with just your starting grid position. It also has to do with weather. Either way, traditionally, not a great place.
No, you want to be P2 for the race.
And sometimes not even P2. At least not this weekend.
No, you do not. You apparently want to be 6th.
Yeah.
That's where George started.
You technically want to be 4th. No, George started in 7th.
Was he in 7th? Jeez.
Yeah.
I thought he was 6th.
Is that more of like a little twist of the knife? Just
yes.
For old Georgie Porgy there.
Yeah. So that was kind of it. So then we go into the race. I think it was a fantastic start by everybody. Everybody did start, well.
And I was waiting for it. I was excited. I'm like, there's going to be some kind of, somebody's going to touch. There's going to be some kind of a mess up here.
Nothing.
No, it was close.
It was very close on a couple of the corners.
Lando and Lewis, was it?
Lando, it did mess up Lando because he got pushed back.
Perez and Lewis. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
At first it was Perez and Lewis. I'm looking at the order here, and Max is not in first, obviously.
Yeah.
Because I'm not looking at the starting grid. But yeah, Lewis and Perez.
Yeah.
Which automatically dropped Perez down to. Lewis got a great start.
Yeah.
Lewis got a great start. Got ahead of Perez, and Perez couldn't hold on.
No.
He immediately dropped down to third. I think Lando dropped like 4 places.
Yeah.
right at the beginning.
and he got pushed. I don't know if he got pushed or he just went wide and it just couldn't recover from it, kind of
Yeah, I
thing.
think he was
But
just trying to avoid some kind of contact, and it
yeah,
just, it fell the way it fell, and he just dropped
yeah. In 2 laps, Max gained
three. No,
three
he
positions.
he gained three in one whole lap.
It was all in the first lap.
It was all I made sure
You
I
know,
watched that. It was all in the first lap. So he passed Albon,
yeah,
Ocon, and who was the other person starting grid here? Alonso.
yeah.
All in the first lap and a half, maybe. Maybe you're closer, yeah, to the second lap. But yeah,
I was nervous for the front group because I was like, if he's going this hard this early,
which is
good
typical.
luck.
Which is
Yes.
typical. And then
Yeah.
we got to. I mean, it's only 44 laps, was it?
Yeah.
44 laps. It's the longest track on the season, 7 kilometers. So that's why it's the shortest amount of laps. He got to, I'd say like lap 12 when I was watching. I was watching the whole thing, but
Yeah.
about lap 12, and I just saw him kind of struggling. Like he
Yeah.
was still struggling to get past. I think it was either Sainz or it was Russell. And that's where I really started to notice how close that gap is on those cars now.
Yeah.
Like it's not like he did last year where he went
No.
from 11th and he went to first in 12 laps.
Yeah.
He did it in 12 laps. He
Yeah.
went in 12 laps from 11th to first. He gained 4 positions in the first lap last year. And then this year the cars are so close.
Yeah.
And it was so exciting. Even Brundle was excited
Yeah.
to see
Well,
how close all those teams were.
even for a long time, the top 5 drivers the top 5 drivers were separated by 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So
Most
it's
of them
like,
were in a DRS train for a long time,
yeah,
the top 10.
which can hinder your race. If one person can't get past, then it messes everybody up. And that's kind of where Max was for a lot of the race. He was stuck right in the middle of these DRS trains that kept happening. Before the race, I know they caught Lando on the grid and they said, how you feeling this week or this weekend? And he said, great, but I know Max is behind me. Yeah. And he's like, so as much as I'm going to be looking forward, I'm looking behind me as well. And like he was saying it just in jest, but it was kind of like, yeah.
Well, because he knows that if he's fighting somebody ahead, he's losing time. Yeah. Max is going to come up behind him, so he's going to defend at the same time.
Yeah,
they were all so close.
Yeah,
as close as Lando was to whoever was in front of him, he had somebody on his ass.
Yeah, yeah. It just,
and it was like that for a long time. At least until you really started to see that undercut from the pits where.
Yes.
That became more of the strategy instead of driving tactics.
Yeah, and this race was just undercut masterclass, which was working for everybody that did the undercut.
Well, the first person that did it
was Max, wasn't it? I mean, no, the first person up front.
I believe it wasn't it Piastri?
I don't think so.
Because Max wasn't the first one to come in.
I know he
was pretty actually
the Williams.
Right. Sorry, no, Russell and Max did come in. You're right.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
The Williams, Williams and I want to say one of the Alpines came in, but again,
who cares about them?
The top guys.
Yeah, no, you're right. It was Russell and Max because we were both talking about it. It looked like Max was just going to go off.
We thought he crashed.
Yeah, didn't realize that the pit entrance was that close to that turn.
Yeah. And it kind of like on a bit of a hill, so you're like,
yeah, the camera angle kind of made it look like he was just gonna pull off to the side.
Yeah.
But he ended up going into the pits right behind George.
Yeah.
And I think Piastri was the
right after
the lap after because Lando
stayed out.
Carlos stayed out. Sorry, Lando and Carlos stayed out quite a bit.
Yeah.
But Carlos was on the hards. Lando was on the mediums. Yeah, so they came out, and it was more so to see, how do they come out? I think at that point, George had a 2.3 pit stop. Max had a 2.7.
Yeah, so it dropped Max back, I think, down to 14th. And again, showing you how close everybody was, even the people that were in 14th. So the fact that Max dropped back that far.
He had come out behind Albon. believe it
Yes.
was. He
Yeah.
came out behind Albon. Russell had just come out behind Sonoda.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It was tight
yeah.
for a 7 kilometer track.
Yeah.
It was very tight. Usually only see those on street tracks, things that have a lot of turns, not a lot of DRS, or at least long DRS zones.
Yeah.
Things are a little tighter.
Yeah.
For a track like this is a racer's track. It's got, I mean, they do have a lot of corners here.
And they're
Uh,
fast. They're fast-paced corners.
yeah,
They're
exactly.
not.
But
They're not
it's
slow.
it's a longer track, but
Yeah.
everybody was so close this weekend.
Yeah. Well, and you could see not even just Max, unless people were on a straight and they had space, there wasn't a lot of overtaking. There, I mean, and it's funny
Which
they
was
caught.
surprising.
Yes, this is a track
This
that
is a
should
track,
work
yeah.
for overtaking, and not many people were able to make it happen. You saw Lewis at the end trying to get George, couldn't do it. Max couldn't get Lando at some point. So it just, for
Well,
some reason, just wasn't working.
I'm looking now, and I didn't realize this until this second. And I realized why I didn't realize why there was 18 finishers, but one was DNF and the other one was DQ, so that's why. But
Yeah.
there was not a blue flag. There was no blue flags. There was no lapping. That's how
Really?
close. That's how close. Hulkenberg finished 18th. Surprisingly, that Hulkenberg finished 18th, but Hulkenberg finished 18th, and he was plus 88 seconds. So it's a minute 20. It is a minute 30 in a minute 30 and a halfs.
Yeah.
On qualifying, everybody was
Yeah.
doing about a minute 45, minute 48, somewhere in that range for this lap. There was not a blue flag this whole race.
Interesting. Again, showing you how
Max had a blue flag last year. He did have a blue flag last year. Guaranteed.
Well, again, he was finishing 24 seconds ahead of everybody.
But I can go back. I guarantee you. He had, and he started 11th last year.
Yeah.
There was not a blue flag. This is
Interesting.
a tight race.
Yeah, interesting. Because now I'm thinking about it. I thought at one point Zhao was falling. He was falling back, but then I remembered he was slowing down, so that's why.
Zhao did 5 laps.
Yeah.
And he was gone.
Had to retire.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I was scared that they were going to catch him and he was going to be like in the middle of the track. And I was like, where's the yellow flag? Put the yellow flag. He's like crawling. Yeah. But yeah, it was. And then, you never sat still, but it kind of calmed down for a little bit because you started to see, okay, this person's coming in. You see who's fighting who. Oscar was asked at one point if he can go ahead and fight, and he said, yeah. Can you take him? Yeah.
No problem. Yeah.
They get Lewis on the radio. Lewis is freaking out on the radio. And I commented this to you, but Max, the nicest guy on the radio today.
And we'll talk about all the news. We'll talk about all the news. Max's radios were a big focus last week.
Yeah.
They're a huge focus last week.
Yeah.
And I thought, and he kind of did in his interviews. He did use a lot. I noticed a lot of swearing and beeping out throughout the whole weekend. It seemed like, yes. Because of the fact that the FIA's, or the, not FIA, sorry, Formula One management is trying to eliminate some of the negative team radios, and we'll get into my part of the rant when we get to that. I noticed a lot of people that you would not normally, I shouldn't say not normally hear swear words, but it seemed like every team radio had some F-bomb in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think they realized what they did last weekend. They were pinning it on one person, pretending that he is some villain, which his radios were aggressive. Like his radios were.
But it's sport.
It's sport. It's not like he was telling GP to fuck off. He told other people to fuck off, but like
the whole media pen this weekend to F off.
But I mean, again, Formula One management, you You guys.
No,
Okay.
no, no, yeah.
Okay.
Let's stick on the
Okay.
race here
All right.
because I am going to lose my shit in about
Okay.
15 minutes.
Okay. So the race
If we last
continues.
15 minutes, but
Yeah. The race continue. I mean, there's not much else to cover off. I mean, the race
well,
continues.
no, there is. I mean,
What?
the battles were.
Yeah.
So that's the thing I found interesting too. Like, we didn't have any blue flags. We also had a ton of battles, but it was never
Mhm.
close enough to be threatening. Like, you
Yeah.
thought like somebody's half a second ahead, somebody's 0.3 of a second ahead. Are they going to get this person? Are they not?
Yeah.
And it just seems like they couldn't close that gap. And I
Yeah.
found that really interesting that we're all there. Not we. They're all so close that it's like me
Yeah.
going to the go karts this week.
Yeah.
It's just so close to just taking over my wife. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I did one race. The other race I couldn't do it.
Jeez.
She learned the racing line. It's fine. It's a true story.
She's learning.
But she is learning. I'm proud of her. So, but they were so close this week that between the top 10 and the bottom 5 or bottom 10, whatever, there really isn't much there.
No.
There really isn't.
No, and I think what was interesting with the racing and the fights that were going on is, and again, kind of after George got into first and was kind of comfortably sitting there, but Lewis in second was actually racing. Who was in fourth at that point? Charles, I think, in fourth.
Yeah.
So, and then Piastri in third was kind of racing. His undercut was for George, not
yes,
not Lewis.
I think Charlotte also gone on that one stop plan as well.
Yeah, yeah,
and they knew that.
Yeah,
so they kind of knew that they were going to try and cover off Leclerc there.
Yeah,
and it really mattered on Piastri's second pit stop, which they did a really great job. They were actually be able to come out ahead of, not much ahead of Charles, but he did come out ahead of Charles.
Yeah, and I think just a little bit of a plug here. I can't remember what episode it is of ours, but if you are struggling to understand overcut, undercut, we do have an episode about that. This weekend was
first one, was it?
No,
we did that
this
like mid-season.
Yeah, this was again a masterclass, and you can see the strategy really working. This was a race that the undercuts worked.
When you
strategy
saw that too,
worked.
You saw whoever started on the soft. It was one of the Aston Martins, wasn't it? Was it one of the?
I don't think anybody was on soft, was it?
Two of them started on a soft. Two of them did start on a soft, and I think one was Ricardo. Possibly, there were two that were on a soft, and they were usually in Spa. You're gonna have something that happens. There's usually a safety car in the first 6-7 laps.
Yeah, first lap.
Yeah, there's usually, but again, they say that with historical data, a lot of historical data has to do with shut up Siri. A lot of that historical data has to do with rain, I would assume. So you're not usually starting on a soft, but that's their short-sightedness, in my opinion. But yeah, two of them waiting for a safety car. So a lot of it had to come down with strategy. And once that strategy was out the window after the first lap, it really came down to who can drive the best in those first 12, 13, 15 laps.
Yeah.
And then strategy took over.
Yeah.
Completely took over.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, the all-time strategist this weekend, George Russell, kind of going against what the team said. So the team was planning for a 2-stop, and most teams did. Yeah. Some had 3 stops. So George, Mercedes calls him in, and he says, "No, I think I have these tires." He goes in for his one. He goes in for his one pit stop, and they're calling him in for the second, and he says, "No, I think I have these tires. I think they're doing what we need them to do. I can win on these tires. I can get to the end on these tires."
On the hards.
Yeah. And everybody's kind of looking, and then I think that's when Charles kind of decided to kind of saw that the teams are starting to see, okay, why is George doing this? Let's
That
kind of follow.
degradation is not the same,
Yeah,
or not what we expected, or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Let's follow through. And I have to say, I messaged you right away, and I was like, "Oh, dumb decision, typical
I,
George, dumb decision," and
well,
it
and
was
like,
working.
because he did that very early. That was 20 laps in, 18 laps in. It's
Yes.
about the end life of his mediums.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, yes, the tires are working,
Yeah.
and you can work the tires. That's fine. But when he's out in front in the P1, you're at a big risk
Yeah.
that tire is just gonna blow,
Yeah.
or you're gonna lose the back end, or they're just gonna
Yeah.
lose all grip completely.
Yeah.
Good on him.
Yeah.
I'm not taking anything away from him.
No.
He was 100% the right call. Maybe,
Absolutely the
maybe
right call.
we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the right call. Maybe it wasn't. It was the best chance for him to win the race.
Yeah, it was definitely a selfish call because
I think where they first realized it is, and I remember at lap, I want to say like 14 or 15, Piastri's first pit stop. He was one of the first ones to go into that hard, and he had a fantastic outlap. He came out behind George and immediately overtook George on those hard tires.
Yeah.
And I think that's where they started to realize, oh, these hard tires are going to work.
Yeah, they're definitely going to work. And I mean, George, and he talked about it after. He said, we can have all the data we want in the world, but us as the 20 of us can feel.
They know.
They can feel what's happening in the car as well, as long as it's not like electrical or anything.
Well, and that's why, like, they're the ones who are deciding, yes, I want to come in. Yes, I want to go on this tire because this is what I feel comfortable with. Yes, I'm going to hit that pit confirm button on my steering wheel because I'm coming in.
Yeah.
If they're not coming in, they're not coming in. You can't control what they're doing out there.
Well, and I mean, I think that's where we saw...
Throw back to Lando last week, but...
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we saw a couple years ago with Charles, like saying, no, I don't think this is right. And the team saying, get in the box. And then he is screaming on the radio, being like, why was this a decision when I said, whatever he did? But George, in this scenario, got it right.
Got it right. 100%.
So I mean, just at the end there, and we can kind of finish off the race with this, but
he got the tire decision right, 100%.
Yeah, he got the tire decision right for sure. So Lewis is in second at that point. Oscar in third. Oscar's like 4 seconds behind Lewis
at first,
and then is just punching.
Yeah, he's at 4 seconds. I think it was a 42nd lap.
Yeah,
out of the 44.
Yeah,
so like you can see him coming around a corner.
Yes, in the distance, but he's there.
Didn't look very threatening at all.
No, and then the Mercedes gets on the radio and says what McLaren should have said last week is, Lewis, if you can catch him, you guys will be able to fight. Keep it clean.
Yeah.
And there was at one point Bernie Collins was talking that she had heard on the radios that the call was going to be for Lewis if they got there, and it really was looking bad for George, and they don't want him to hold Lewis up.
Yeah.
Because Lewis was looking like
car,
yeah. Lewis was looking like the faster car. But
if you can catch him.
Yeah. If you can catch him, keep it clean and fight.
Which is what McLaren said to him.
Yeah.
Try to catch up.
Yeah.
And then said, he's not going to catch you. Let your little brother through. Listen. We're not going into that. We're not going into that. We're not going to go back into that one. No,
but yeah,
that's last week, still living in my mind.
But it truly is what McLaren should have said last week. Catch him and fight. If you can't catch him, that's it.
You don't deserve it. We fucked up. Yep. Anyway, yeah.
So and Lewis catches him. Lewis is
half
a second point 0.3 seconds
tenths of a
behind.
second. Yeah,
Yeah.
depending on certain
He,
points. I mean, Lewis did. I think it was halfway through lap 43 of 44. Lewis is a quarter of a second to 3/10 of a second behind him, and he
yeah.
locks up
Yes.
and loses like 3/10 of a second.
Yeah.
I think if he didn't do that, it didn't have that lockup, we would have had a much more interesting lap 44.
I think it would have been a almost like a photo finish, like pushing each other around that last
Oh,
corner.
I didn't think it was gonna be that.
Like,
I thought it was gonna be we have last lap George come out into full
mm,
effect
just stress
and
out.
spasm. Yeah,
Just completely
those long
stressed
legs
out.
just lose all control,
Yeah,
and he's
yeah,
into a barrier somewhere.
for sure. Yeah. So, and then all of a sudden, you see Oscar is no longer 4 seconds. Oscar's
Oh,
in
he's right.
DRS right behind
Not even. Yeah,
Mercedes.
he's right. Like, he was a half a second behind Lewis.
Yeah.
Coming around the last few corners of lap 44.
Yeah. And again, a few more laps. We could always wish for more laps. This is what Mercedes was saying. We don't want you to back Lewis up that he's now in DRS. But again, this is the last lap. So
And I don't think
it
he was
doesn't really
backing Lewis
matter.
up. I think
But
he was pushing a
yeah.
car that had been on old tires as best
Yeah.
he could, and he was defending as best he could, and good on him.
Yeah. And Lewis
He
just
did it.
couldn't. He tried some lunges or he looked for some lunges and he couldn't do it. So so George wins. The camera snaps to Toto, who looks like someone just murdered his cat.
He did not even smile.
No.
From somebody who went from where George won his first race win with Mercedes this year.
No, you keep saying that. He won in Brazil with them.
Sorry, I keep saying that. This year.
Yes, this year.
This year.
This year.
Yeah, he won for Mercedes this year, the first Mercedes win this year.
Yeah.
That more specific? That's better.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you. And then before that lap even ends, he is on the radio, giddy like a schoolgirl. George, you can win this. Come in. You know, he like just
we can
freaking
win
out. And this one, he didn't, like, you saw his finger buzzing over the little microphone thing or whatever. But he does nothing. He does absolutely nothing.
You just got a 1-2.
Which is great. I mean, usually you see like at least a fist pump from
Yeah.
him. Didn't see that.
No, he looked like he lost the race.
They go on the podium. You have two drivers and an engineer on the podium, and he is in the paddock FaceTiming.
Yeah.
And fine, you want to FaceTime your kids. You want to FaceTime your wife. No problem with that. Do it with the rest of your team.
It's
what
bizarre.
Are you doing? What are you?
Very bizarre. I think he wanted Lewis to have the win.
I don't necessarily. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know why he would want Lewis to have the win. Oh, because Lewis is leaving. Maybe that's why. But
Lewis was miffed. Lewis was not in a good place.
Yeah.
Lewis was wondering, first of all, why George went on a one stop and he did not.
Yeah.
And then
George told his team he's not coming in.
It was such absurd. I thought very early on in the race. When did Lewis pass Leclerc? I can't remember what lap it was. I honestly thought that Lewis was just going to sandbag it. I thought Lewis was not going to pass. Like I just his mental state.
Yeah.
As he's in this Mercedes now, and he passed them. He had a great pass, but it wasn't a difficult pass. Didn't look like a difficult pass.
No.
Right? How do I know? But it didn't look like a difficult pass.
Yeah.
And then he's thinking, "This is my car next year."
Mm-hmm.
It just there was a weird air around Mercedes this weekend.
Well, it's funny because, you know, McLaren last weekend has this 1-2 weird energy because of something they did. You have a Mercedes 1-2 this weekend. Nobody's happy about it except for George. Like,
Yeah, yeah. He
and
was skipping.
ecstatic.
He was
Yeah,
skipping.
he was ecstatic about it.
Literally skipping.
And
Which is weird on a 6'1", maybe.
yeah,
Or whatever he
um,
is.
yeah, but just completely two opposite react. I mean, it's the same reaction for opposite reasons in the same scenario. You get a 1-2, and
And I'll say this. So a lot of the questions this week before the race were on, a lot of people were asking Lewis because of the awkwardness in the cool down room.
Mhm.
And then comments afterwards. A lot of, a lot of questions were, how did you take that from Lando and stuff? And he says, it's his age and stuff like that. And like, I'm a little bit more, basically saying he's a
Yeah,
more mature driver, this and that. And then you see him on the podium this weekend, and he's obviously not happy. He also completely ignores George. He spikes his bottle and goes right to the engineer.
yeah,
Yes, I think afterwards he kind of just collected himself a little more, and they had a little
yeah.
bit of a celebration. But it wasn't much of a different celebration. It looked like an upset 14-year-old.
Well, and I mean, when they first got out of the car, you could see George sitting on the ground, which every time George wins or loses, he goes and like has this emotional moment on the ground. Like,
Like the squealing was just, yeah.
and then you could see Lewis almost hiding behind the like,
Lewis took an a long time to get out of his car.
absolutely. Like, he was pissed.
Absurdly long time. He
He,
did
and
not want to go, and even afterwards, he didn't go up to him
no,
before they got weighed.
no,
He didn't go and celebrate with his team.
kept his helmet
That
on,
I saw. Yeah,
kept his helmet
it
on for a
was.
long time.
Yeah,
So
it was a
just,
very professional kind of meltdown.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. When you've been
Which,
in the
which,
industry for,
which, when you've answered all these questions coming
yeah,
up to this race about
it's just funny.
immaturity,
Yeah,
and then you go ahead and have this. I mean, karma's a bitch,
yeah,
but
yeah. So race is done, podium's done. I'm, getting ready for the rest of my day. You're getting ready for the rest of your
I'm already
day.
2 beers deep. Yeah, it's just
And notification George's car underweight by 1.5 kilos, and
1.5
it's
kilos.
being
It was being.
investigated.
He's been or the team has been summoned by the stewards
Yeah.
because and it's just a regulatory check by the FIA. They do it for every race winner.
Yep.
And they notice something.
The cars are weighed. The cars are all, or sometimes it's random race winner, but they,
I think they do weigh the top 3.
yeah, for sure. And then random checks for
They do random checks for other things, whether it's skid plates or
the
whatever.
planks.
Yeah, or just randomly because they may have had some complaints about a flexing rear. Front
Yeah.
leg.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Red Bull, but
Yeah. So it's kind of like, and he doesn't reach, he's not at the required minimum weight. Possible
1.5 kilos.
Yeah. Possible disqualification.
Just over 3 pounds.
Yeah. 3-ish pounds. So now we're kind of like waiting what's going to happen to poor George, who was so ecstatic.
Which is pretty clear cut. I mean, that if you're underweight, I mean, they've done it before, you're probably DQ'd.
Yeah.
Right? Now it's just, is there going to be appeal? Is there going to be a reason for it that's out of the ordinary? And there wasn't.
We'll see, but I don't think there
isn't. There isn't. I mean, Todd already said we're going to take it on the chin. Like, that's their fault.
Which the conspiracy theorist in me is like,
okay.
Which I am like the furthest thing from a conspiracy theorist.
You are. That's more of my division.
Exactly. But is this why there was no reaction from...
Oh, I believe you're 100% right.
Mercedes.
I am 100% behind that conspiracy. 100%.
You're behind
100%.
Yeah.
100%. We had the engineers cheer George on. We had Toto, who was completely subdued.
Yeah.
Completely. And normally, okay, fine. He said he wasn't going to get on the radio and say whatever he's got to say on the last lap, which is a very professional thing to do. Great.
Yeah.
But he did not. Not that I noticed. There was a broadcast. He was sitting on a chair inside the paddock at the national anthems, which one of them is a German national anthem. That is your team's national anthem.
Yeah.
You should be there. You are the team principal. I'm banging on the desk. I
Yeah.
see my camera shaking. I'm sorry. But like, you should be there.
Yeah.
You know
Absolutely.
something's up. You
Yeah.
know something's up. And I
So
know
it,
you're not the one weighing the car, but you
yeah.
know something's up.
Yeah. It makes it seem like, and again, just bizarre. Very, very bizarre. And, he made comments after that Lewis was so deserving of the win, which, don't get me wrong, Lewis had a great drive.
Lewis had a great drive.
But that's a weird comment to make when you didn't say, George, your other driver just got DQ'd, and you're like, oh, well,
your
Lewis
other
deserved
driver
the win.
basically outdrove everybody else.
He made a strategy call that was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, we saw last year, 2 years ago. I can't remember. What was the one that Albon had gone like 50 laps on a hard tire? He went a long time.
Yeah.
He went a long, long time. And all we did, not you, but you and I, because we have a podcast thing.
Yeah.
But everybody else on the broadcast, we're just celebrating how great of a drive Albon had, and how well he managed those tires, and how well he did as a driver doing that. It's no different from what George did this weekend. No different.
Just wasn't 50 laps.
No, but Lewis, probably the same distance.
Yeah.
Lewis was a very deserving of the win. Nobody's disputing that.
Just didn't get it.
No.
He was giving it.
No mention of how it's bad for George. It's on us. Lewis deserves this win. No. No.
Again.
George made the call. George drove that car.
Yeah.
George deserved that win.
Yeah.
You guys fucked up.
Yeah. With whatever behind the scenes. And we're just planting seeds. We're planting seeds. We're
planting seeds. Is it something they took off the car, or they made adjustments that weren't to weight regulations? Maybe not. Is it the fact, like we had talked about earlier, he did have a one stop. There was much more tire degradation, which could have contributed to some of the weight loss. Some of these drivers, when they do a victory lap, they pick up some of the marbles, like the extra tire shavings
that have
come off the rubber that's come off, that could equal a couple of pounds, 1.5 pounds, whatever, of rubber, which in Spa you don't, because it's such a long track. Nobody wants to watch them go around for 7 kilometers at friggin' 60 kilometers an hour. It would take it forever, especially for broadcasting shit.
Yeah.
So they basically come in the pit exit and just go right in. George's tires were bald, completely bald.
Yeah.
I'm sure that contributed to some of it. Was that all of it? I don't know.
We're never going to find out.
We're not those mathmaticians. Okay.
No. And we're never going to find out. And just so everybody knows, the car is weighed, especially when they do the investigation as well. They're removing all the fuel as well. So even after the fuel is removed, the car is still under.
Car and tires, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they remove the actual gasoline or whatever they use for the internal combustion engine. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
which is weird, because they also have to have a certain amount of fuel left. Maybe they would have checked the fuel level. But anyway.
Yeah, they check the fuel level before, then they empty it, weigh it. The drivers
these
weighed.
are all safety conditions, right? Yeah. These are all safety conditions, because if they're underweight, it's a dangerous condition.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 whatever.
And underweight could be car tampering. I've talked to my dad about this, and he said years ago in the 80s, the Williams used to do it until Bernie Ecclestone got caught. So, it makes your car faster if your car is lighter, but it's also dangerous.
I can also see it being, I can also see it like you go up Eau Rouge, where you got that very fast uphill. You catch the wrong wind, and I can see you being like the Nürburgring, where you are airborne and you're gone. Yeah. Which is part of the downforce part, but so he loses it. A shame for Georgie Porgy. Yeah. Because not that I'm his biggest fan, but I think he did race a absolutely fantastic race.
Yeah,
this weekend.
he outsmarted everybody. He outsmarted his own team.
He made that choice.
Yeah, so I do feel for him. And again, just kind of bizarre, 2 races in a row. The person that's sitting in second is almost given the win.
Well, and we didn't touch on it, but well, we did kind of, but like there were no like Toto didn't celebrate, but there was
No,
also no team celebration. There was no team
no,
photo.
no,
Not
because
even so much as there was no team photo. Like Lewis wasn't even waiting around to see the verdict from the FIA. He
no,
was gone.
yeah. I
So
mean,
they knew.
200 podiums. He doesn't need another. He doesn't
I'm
need to
sorry, but
carry
if
the
no,
trophy
but
out.
if you're a 1-2 and
Yeah.
there's a possibility, if there's a possibility that might,
Yeah.
you don't get that verdict goes the verdict goes your way,
Yeah.
you stick around. He knew that verdict wasn't going their way.
Well, and regardless of however it ended up 1-2, it was still a 1-2.
It was
So
a 1-2
why was there no team celebration of any sort?
because they knew.
They knew.
They knew. The
And we'll
shady
leave
Germans.
we'll leave that there.
Yeah, I'll leave it on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
On that.
But yeah,
Great
that
race
was
though. It was a great race. You know what? It was other than that, it was a great race from lights out to the end. It was exciting. There was so much to watch with the
Yeah.
undercuts, with the battles, and specifically again in that top 10.
Yeah.
Something we haven't seen a lot of in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
2.5. Two-ish. Whatever.
Well, and now we're seeing not only the drivers' championship not closing in, but the constructors.
Yeah.
The
We're
constructors
seeing a
is
true
moving.
4-team battle,
Yeah.
which
So
we haven't seen.
no, constructors is going to look
2021.
interesting.
Even 2021, it was Red Bull and Mercedes. And
Yeah.
I mean, Ferrari was there, but they weren't really close.
No, they
And
were on the lower end of it.
Yeah, and then that was it because McLaren wasn't great. Everybody else was midfield. Like there was a clear separation between, like a triple separation.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
Right here we have you have the top 8 drivers or cars, and then you have the bottom 12, and who knows where the hell they're going to show up.
Yeah. It's true.
It's exciting.
It's very exciting.
If you want to get into it now, and this is the first episode you're listening to, thank you, congratulations. Keep listening, but keep watching because this is going to be one hell of a back half of the season.
Yeah, 10 more races. It's going to get
Spicy.
gritty. Yeah, and there's some good tracks remaining.
Was
We've
that a
got some
pun?
sprints.
It's supposed to be gritty, like great. You meant GRITTY, but
Yes,
could have been GRIDDY.
I could have.
Yeah,
Gritty.
It's kind of pun. I'm a dad, so I
Dad puns. You find all the dad
jokes.
puns.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, it's going to be an interesting. There's some good sprints left. Some good night tracks we still
have 3
have.
sprints left.
I think so.
Yeah, I believe we only got 3. We got 3 left. Yeah.
Yeah. So lots more to come.
Singapore, which is probably my second favorite.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
Singapore will be good.
I'm excited to go back to Vegas. And last year was good. This year with these 4 teams.
And it could be a last moment. Last moment fights at the end there. So, all right. Well, news of the week.
Like, there's been a lot of news.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. Let's get through the easy stuff.
Okay, easy stuff.
Yes.
Alpine. There's 2 things with Alpine.
Yeah. First, Bruno Famine is gone.
Bruno Famine is gone. A little bit of a trend. We keep losing team principals for Alpine in Spa.
At Spa.
We lost Otmar last year at Spa. Wasn't working out for him.
No.
I mean, his memes are still working out for him.
Yeah.
His pictures, his Instagram account's still working great for him. I mean, we follow it.
Yeah.
But he's gone. And it wasn't like he's in a reduced capacity. It's just, you're not working out for us. Might have something to do with the new executive leadership that's come in. We don't exactly know.
Well, and
Um,
I think if anybody watched Drive to Survive, you see when Bruno Famine comes in, there's kind of this like cockiness and like air that
which I
like
enjoy.
I I'm coming to take over what Otmar couldn't do. Well, he was doing a little bit better than what you're putting out right now,
Yeah,
but um
he was. They are on an upturn. I'll give
yeah,
him that.
barely. But yes,
Well,
they've
not
got
this weekend.
points.
Not this weekend. Yeah,
They've
yeah,
got some points.
yeah.
But yeah, so interesting that he's gone.
Yeah. The other Alpine news, actually got a third, but it's more of a rant. The second Alpine news is that they are almost confirmed. Renault's gone. Renault will now be out of F1, which has been a long
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
They've been in F1 for a long, long time, whether it's
Yeah.
their own team or as an engine supplier.
Just
Um,
engines.
Looks like Alpine is now going to go to Mercedes.
Well, it seems to be a good engine right now.
Yeah, yeah.
It's working. It's better than what?
This year, I mean, they're better than
Yeah.
Ferrari, where they're getting out qualified by Haas, but
Yeah.
most weekends,
Yeah.
some weekends.
Yeah.
But there's that. The only other Alpine news I had this weekend was their livery was shit this weekend.
I thought it was horrible.
I mean,
Like,
come on. I mean, I'm excited for Deadpool Wolverine. I love all that stuff. Deadpool is one of my favorite characters. Wolverine's my favorite characters in Marvel. Um, but just because Ryan Reynolds is one of your top sponsors, and I love Ryan Reynolds, I drink his gin all the fucking time. Okay, aviation. If you want to sponsor us, Ryan Reynolds, no problem. We'll take it. But the livery was shit.
yeah, it was not a good livery at all.
No.
It looked like in
I
some
didn't
way
know
they
who
were
was going.
copying the Haas. Like
It
it,
looked like
yeah,
they were filming for the F1 movie.
yeah.
It was.
I would
It's
have
not
gone
good.
all red instead of the
Yeah,
black.
yeah.
Why wouldn't you guys go
But
red?
why would you go red and yellow? I mean, you got Deadpool, you got Wolverine, you've got like these cuts through carbon fiber, and
Yeah,
it's just it didn't work.
yeah.
It
This
was it
is
was terrible.
twice this year that they have messed us up
Well,
with
one is their
liveries.
own livery.
Yeah,
One is their own. Like they hyped up this livery, and it
yeah,
was lackluster. And
yeah,
then this one, nobody knew it was even coming.
yeah.
And then it was just
And it was like, oh, Deadpool, and then, oh, okay,
there are so many like if you're going to go, and this is another rant of mine. Shut up, Siri. If you're gonna go another rant of mine, I am a nerd, and I love all these comic book things and the Marvel universe. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, which makes me so mad that Ocon has a lot of Spider-Man helmets, but they look good. But they look good. Why not have consulted that guy that
I,
I don't want to mention
I don't
for
know.
for delivery? You know what I mean? Like it could have been red and yellow and fantastic claws,
Yeah,
katanas, whatever.
yeah,
It was just
lackluster.
such a miss.
Yeah,
Such a miss.
yeah. Well,
And that was
that's on brand.
yeah, yeah. It's the French. So that was the LP news. I'll get the other LP news, not XLP news. Confirmed Esteban Ocon is joining Haas.
Yes.
R.I.P. Ollie Behrman.
Yeah. Oh, don't put that out there. But, you know,
I'm going to give my opinion, and I'm sorry. I think Ollie Behrman could benefit from a different teammate.
absolutely.
That is the best way for me to put that.
I think Kevin Magnussen would have been the better teammate over Ocon for sure. And I know Kevin Magnussen.
Better yes. I'll give
I
it.
know Kevin Magnussen said he's not here to train people or, you know, babysit people.
But is Ocon.
I'm not sure if that's the person you want to learn from.
If I am a Ferrari junior driver and I'm putting him into a Ferrari engine and they obviously have some sort of say, maybe not completely a say,
Yeah.
but some influence on who is their driver, it's not Ocon.
No.
It's not.
No.
But Bottas. Sainz Zhao.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Anybody.
Anybody else? Anybody
Yeah.
else?
That's our
Just,
own opinions as well.
I mean, don't pick somebody when you have your junior driver who is getting into a car, who's obviously talented.
Hmm.
He's a talented young man.
Yeah.
Don't put in the teammate that you've seen cannot handle being outperformed by his teammate.
Yeah. Multiple teammates.
Yeah.
Multiple teammates. So,
Like you
uh,
want a mentoring environment,
yeah.
not a tumultuous one.
Yeah. And hey, maybe Ocon will go there and he's going to be happier.
Please don't be delusional.
I'm delusional every other day, so why not today with this?
Oh, I was so mad. I just
Yeah.
wanted him out of the sport.
Yeah. Well,
But anyways,
he's
he's
here for
not.
multi-year.
He's not. He's not. And it's worse because I'm excited to see Ollie Behrman. I don't want to see him on the same team as Ocon.
No.
But anyways,
No.
that was the other Alpine-ish news.
Yeah.
Did you have anything that you wanted to get into that before I got into anything
I don't
else?
remember what other news we had. You have it all
Oh,
up
we
there.
had a lot. Oh, I'll leave that one for last. We got into the Yuki thing. There was a lot of talk about, well, kind of what we talked about with the Lewis thing and not being. Lando was very remorseful this week,
Yeah.
kind of ish.
Happy. Very happy this
Yes, very
weekend.
happy. Kind of saying, I could have handled it better, which it's not wrong. He probably could have handled it better. I mean, he's going to say what he's going to say for the camera. Nobody, I don't think anybody
Yeah.
really even blames him for it.
No.
Him being upset.
No, not at all.
He just kind of feels bad that he took kind of the focus away from Piastri's first win, which he gave him.
I don't think he took the focus away. I think McLaren took
did,
the
100%.
focus away.
I
and
think he's playing the team game, and he's like,
yes.
it was kind of both of us.
Yeah.
But good on him for being
Yeah. The nice
that.
guy.
I don't think it should be, but
Yeah.
you ever just wanted to just kind of just grab somebody by the shoulders and be like, "Shut the fuck up."
Yeah.
What are you doing? Yeah. That's
Daily.
kind of what I wanted to do. Daily. So one question I want to put to you before I get into what will be my rant,
Okay.
and most likely my dirty air. Top speeds.
Just go into one.
Yeah, top speeds for the top 8 drivers this weekend,
Yes.
which baffled me.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think it baffled the person in 8th as well. So
by judging by the picture, which is probably not.
it's not the same picture.
No, it's not from today. So top speeds for top 8 drivers. We had in number 1 Lando Norris with 355 kilometers per hour. Quick.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the top speed all season, if I'm not mistaken.
355 is fast.
I haven't seen. I mean, normally they're at like they're averaged out about a 336 top speed. So anything above a 340 is pretty quick. To hit 355 is fast.
Yeah. Very fast.
I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna say I'm right, but it is the top speed of the season so far.
Season.
Behind that, Oscar Piastri, Carlos Sainz hit 349. Very fast, obviously. If Norris is number 1, Piastri's obviously going to be number 2. A little bit surprised about the Sainz one. We had Russell and Verstappen at 346.
Russell and Verstappen. Okay. Yeah.
Hamilton, for being as fast as he was this weekend, tied Perez with 340 kilometers per hour. Nothing to sneeze at.
Interesting.
Nothing to sneeze at, but I mean, interesting to see Perez have that kind of pace.
Yeah.
Since he went from 2nd to 7th.
Yeah.
And then
Charles Leclerc.
You got to talk to him. You got to talk to him.
Yeah, I got to talk to him.
You got to talk to him. Not even close this weekend. 327 kilometers per hour in the same car that his teammate did 349. He was 13 kilometers per hour, off of his next rivals, which were Lewis and Perez, and a whole 22 kilometers per hour behind his teammate.
Yeah. Which is interesting because you ended up, you as in Charles, was
Oh, thank you.
second in qualifying. Second in qualifying. So you were obviously some sort of fast
Yeah,
on inters.
yeah.
And then you put on your mediums and your
You
hards
put on actual slicks, your fastest tire.
and nothing. So I would be interested to see what his reaction is when he hears not only the top speeds of everybody else, but the top speed of the comparison between him and Carlos.
Now, correct me
Would
if
love
I'm
to be a fly on the wall.
correct me if I'm wrong. Charles did he? We had a few race leaders this weekend. Russell, obviously. We had
Mm-hmm.
Hamilton. We had Norris. We had Verstappen. I don't know if Verstappen
No,
actually made it. No, Verstappen.
he didn't lead
But
at any point.
Leclerc was leading for a couple laps, was he not? After a pit
Yeah,
stop somewhere.
he led the first one, the first few.
Yeah.
He was on pole. Yeah, that was it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
So
Yes.
so even
How do you have the eighth? Like, you're in clear air. Norris had clear air. Russell had
and
clear
everybody
air.
was fighting
Sainz
behind
had
you.
clear on it. Everybody on this list, aside from Verstappen, had clear, and Perez had clear air. Norris,
Yeah.
Piastri, Sainz, Russell, Hamilton.
Yeah.
Leclerc also did.
Yeah.
Where do you lose in the same car as your teammate, 22 kilometers per hour?
Well,
Is this a confidence issue? Like,
it must be. Well, and I think the first lap, because there was kind of fights going on in second and third and fourth and beyond, Leclerc got away.
did
He got
a couple
pretty
seconds.
far ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was on his own. So he did his formation lap insanely fast as well. Like, I remember texting you being like, why is he going so fast? This is not the race, guys. But bizarre, very bizarre. We never heard any radios that he was losing engine. His battery
No.
wasn't doing it. So it's very shocking that they're that different. Again, with the other drivers, fine, but with your own teammate, uh, that's
But
quite a difference in pace.
even between Norris was the fastest and Lewis and Perez, who were his closest competitors in the speed race, whatever, was 15 kilometers per hour.
Yeah.
Right, and Leclerc between Perez and Hamilton was 13.
Yeah. And
He was 28. That's right, yeah. 28 kilometers per hour slower than Norris, which is, I mean, he's miles ahead. That's fine.
right.
But you look at the gap between everybody else, it's a much smaller gap.
But then you also even think like Perez, who is further back in a lot of the fights and a lot of dirty air, should not be faster than you when you were kind of comfortably sitting
didn't
up in
have-
third and fourth. Had a little bit of space. You weren't in the DRS train that was happening from like fourth down. So how were you not able to get that fast?
You're telling me when he's got clear air, he's in first, he can't hit 340 kilometers an hour
Apparently
when
not.
he gets in a straight?
Apparently not. Yeah.
It
It could be. You're right. It could be a confidence thing.
I
that
was
he's just
flabbergasted.
struggling.
I
Yeah.
was when I saw that, like, it was like, that is a shocking number. It is a huge discrepancy.
Yeah.
And that is worth a lot of time.
What's the difference between Max and Perez?
Max and Perez were only 6 kilometers per hour at the top speed.
Okay. So I mean, no, that's not bad
between
at all.
the same car. And Russell and Lewis were the same thing, 6 kilometers per hour.
And this is proof of, the argument of, is Max in a different car? 6 kilometers is nothing.
No, that's your top speed. So that is coming.
That's situational.
That's coming out of a corner.
Yeah.
Worse, or braking earlier, where you're kind of reaching those speeds. Maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
22 kilometers is you're just not. You or your car are not putting in the same effort.
Whether it's your shifting that's different or your corner exits are different.
Yeah.
whatever, you're creating more understeer, oversteer, depending what the situation is. That is a big difference. That's a
Yeah.
big difference. Unless his
Yeah.
engine is failing him, which
Yeah.
it didn't fail him in the race. We'll see. Maybe next week he's got a penalty for taking a new power unit or whatever. I mean, that's a possibility. I would hope that's the only possibility to make you that much different from your team.
Yeah. He's going to come back and be like 400 kilometers per hour.
Yeah. He's going, oh, it's my engine. He's got a hammer in his back. In his pocket. Yeah.
But,
I thought that was interesting.
yeah.
It was something I really couldn't believe that it was that far because the other, other 7 cars were so close.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that. The other thing that I want to talk about, and I talked to you early in the week, before actually it was only media had started. So I'd seen this that on Tuesday, so obviously we saw this on Wednesday. Yeah. There was a meeting between the FIA, Formula One management, and F1 team principals discussing the cost cap, 2026 regulations, and swearing. So a lot of this stemming from Max's team radios from last week in the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Yeah.
About how aggressive he was on the radio.
Oh.
That's not what I wanted. I pressed the wrong button. Oh, no. Everything's going crazy on me. I just wanted to get to the next slide here. So, what they wanted is F1 drivers now been encouraged not to swear over the radio, as it could be offensive to some people. Now, we already talked about them probably swearing more so this week.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Let me get a little bit.
This is your rant.
Here. Yeah. Formula One management puts out all of these team radios.
Yeah.
They're the ones who put it on the screen. They're the ones who publish it on the screen. They're afraid that they're going to offend people. First of all, to those people who are offended, go fuck yourself. Because this is sport. This is sport.
Yeah.
People get angry. You are high stress, especially somebody who's going even 327 kilometers per hour.
Yeah. Very high stress.
You're a high stress environment. You're making decisions on the fly. You are, everything comes down to a millisecond. Okay. You have no right. I get they drive for you, but you have no right to tell somebody how they can and can't speak. That comes down to a team decision.
Not even...
If you don't like it, don't publish it for the world to see because you're worried about someone being offended. First of all, fuck all those people that need kid gloves to watch something.
Well, I was just going to say...
If you told Michael Jordan to stop being so goddamn aggressive or to stop being so aggressive to his teammates, they wouldn't have won 6 fucking championships.
This is true. And it's also, you're saying this, grown men.
Yeah.
You can't swear because it's offending somebody else.
I am so sick of this fucking world, and we've got to make sure that everybody is having a good time. It's sport. Nobody should be having, not everybody should be having a good time.
No.
Somebody's going to be pissed off. Somebody's going to be happy. And who cares?
Yeah. And sport. Again, like you said, their Formula One management is in charge of the radios that are published on the screen.
Yeah.
Which is why I think this weekend they're backpedaling a little bit because you showed all of Max's. You didn't show everybody else swearing last week.
No.
You did that on purpose.
They put it there.
You had somebody going through a meltdown for whatever reason he was having the meltdown. Whatever reason it is.
And just like anybody else.
You chose to put his consistently.
Because
we didn't hear
bring in viewership.
Yeah. It's drama, you know, and then everybody had to ask him about it. Everybody had to ask him about it, which his responses were fuck them, fuck you, this, and that. Which
thank God.
Yeah. So
I was happy.
You're also picking on the wrong person to be God. Like, please be careful of what you say.
This is why he's my favorite.
Do that with Lando. Do that with Charles. You know what I mean? Like George even. Like George literally says, "Holy smokes, holy moly!" Like,
But
so
like other than George and
he does
Lewis,
swear
like
though.
everybody was very much. I noticed a lot of normally more people, and again, this is Formula One management putting this out, but
Yeah,
I did hear a lot of beeps from several of the drivers and
other
several
teams.
teams. So
Yeah,
heard it from Sargent, heard from Stroll. Um, I don't know. We didn't hear from Sonoda.
no.
Obviously, Max. Um, not Piastri
Oscar
because
got
he's.
Oscar got a little.
I don't think I ever
Was
heard a
there?
swear word from him though. He's a stone wall.
Yeah,
But yeah, I did hear like a abundance of it this week, where it was just
yeah,
even if it was just like in their regular conversation, there would be like a little bit of a beat,
yeah,
like whether it's shit, fuck, whatever.
yeah.
But to the FIA, to Formula Management, whether it's fuck, cunt, bitch,
Oh my God, Kevin.
shit, whatever, I don't care. Like it's sport. Like you
Yeah,
can't, you have no right to silence somebody else's comments in a certain thing, unless it's completely derogatory, which it wasn't. It was
right.
just part of conversation. He said the
Yeah.
F word. Like, who cares?
You
It
are
was
listening to, not private, but you are listening to team radios that they're having
yeah,
a conversation. That's not
and
really not
fine.
your business,
If the
but
team if the team has a problem with the way they're interacting, that is a team problem.
which we've seen them do before. We've
Yeah,
seen them with Yuki in the past. Yuki has had many a meltdown, and he was going at his engineer,
yeah,
and they at the time AlphaTauri put uh, Yuki in anger management classes, and it, teams take that on. They've had issues with Alpine. Gasly and Ocon have had issues, which they've handled. They did their stuff
well,
quietly,
and
but
we came into the sport from Drive to Survive,
mhm,
both you and I,
yeah,
right? A lot of people have come into the sport from Drive to Survive.
yeah,
How big of hypocrites are Formula One management when you're going to put out a show like that, which I love,
hmm,
and dramatize it and show what, the real side of
the real,
drivers
yeah,
and what goes on behind the scenes and in the cockpit there,
yeah,
in the sport. And then you're going to go back, you're going to backpedal and say, well, this is unacceptable.
yeah,
Max hasn't changed since he was 16. You put him in a fucking car.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It hasn't
yeah.
been any different.
I
The only
mean,
difference is that you focused on it for almost one race, and
yeah,
a couple people complained because their
yeah,
kids are watching. First of
yeah,
all, everything's bleeped out, so who cares?
right.
You're not
So
hearing it,
no, you're not hearing it at all.
and somebody else complained because what did it trigger them?
Yeah,
Fuck
well,
these
and you're
people.
also like Daniel, the happiest guy on the grid in the early seasons and the continued seasons of Drive to Survive. He's swearing all through it.
Yeah.
So you allow, and they
Is it
weren't bleeping it out.
is it the abuse
So
of the teams? Well, fine, then that's a team issue.
yeah,
Don't publish
they
it.
yeah, you
Don't
you
create
guys
your
are
own
in charge
problem.
of it.
Yeah, don't create a problem and then blame it on somebody else.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
I'm very heated.
I agree.
I saw that and on Wednesday and I was incessant and I was ready to rip some heads and the
Yeah,
weekend hadn't even started.
yeah,
I'm still pissed off. I am still so mad. Anyways,
yeah. Happens.
well, we're at 118. This is gonna be the longest episode we ever had. I think the longest episode I looked the other day was like 122. But anyways, so that's it we had for news. I don't have much else. Oh, I think I sent it to you. Other than the fact they asked Bottas about last week about the team orders between
Yes.
about Lando and Piastri. He's like, "Oh, I did it all the time."
Yeah.
And Daniel was sitting right beside him. He's like, "Yeah, but you weren't really happy about it." He says, "No, I was fine with it. It was team orders." And Daniel's like, "No, you weren't happy about it."
And he gives like a wink to the camera,
Yeah.
and he's like, "I will do it anytime."
And he did exactly what Lando did before. Just like,
Yeah.
you know what, James, FO, I'm gonna get the fastest lap.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's just, I hope this guy doesn't
And
leave the sport.
and funny, you say James, it's James Vowles. that he was
100%.
talking to. So,
Respectfully, James, fuck off.
who could be his
His new
team
boss.
principal?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
fun times.
but that's all we had for news. That's all we had for the
That's it
race
for
recap.
news.
So, fresh set of the weekend.
Fresh set of the weekend. I
That one I
would
haven't thought about. I've been so focused
say,
on my dirty airs.
um, I don't. I do not mind. I'm gonna say a Charles pole, which was he acquired the pole, but I think he needs a little bit of a
Is that a
confidence
fresh?
boost.
Is that a fresh set if he gets pole and
Yes, because
loses it?
I think he needs the confidence boost that you can at least get. I mean, even just getting second place. Let's say Max didn't have a penalty. I think
Mm-hmm.
even he hasn't finished that far up or qualified that far up in the
But
last
that's
little
like
bit.
me saying my fresh set would be
This
Sergio
is my
Perez
fresh
getting.
set. Okay.
Okay. You're right.
This is my fresh set. Mind
This is
your
not a
business.
debate. No, it's not a debate.
No.
You're not gonna pull out like Biden. Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Fair enough. My fresh set. I don't know that I. Can I just say the race in general?
Yeah.
I mean, I really thoroughly enjoyed this race.
Yeah.
I mean, Spa's my favorite track of all the tracks that I've got on the calendar. I was locked in. I was locked in
Yeah.
from lap 1 to lap 44, and there was action right from the beginning all the way to the
All
end.
around,
Whether
yeah.
you're following the early battles to the undercuts to see who was coming in next, to how they were gonna, how the order was gonna flesh out at the end, to George throwing a Hail Mary and it working out for him, whether it did or didn't at the end, but whatever. Even Charles throwing the same Hail Mary and making him now into a P3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just pretty close. The best race of the season we had this year was, where was that again? It was like a couple races ago. This is pretty close though. It's just up there, if not the best race, second best race of the year.
Yeah.
For me. So that's my.
I would agree with that. My dirty air, I'm gonna say it's like a bit of a two-parter. The disqualification, which then kind of leads into like having back-to-back weekends of weird finishes to races. One was during the race, but like it just bizarre for great races, just bizarre endings, and it happens, but just weird to have two back to back, and then of course just a DQ when you finish in first is just awful. So that's my dirty air, which is kind of the obvious one, but
no, you're right. It is. It's so I mean, last week I gave it to McLaren. It's hard not to give it to Mercedes this weekend.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily know where that 1.5 kilos was lost.
Yeah.
But the fact that Mercedes is saying they're taking this one on the chin makes me think that it's on them as a team.
Yeah. And very quickly they made that statement.
Yeah.
Like it was prepared.
Yeah.
They knew it was, which
we saw Toto like, you know what? So I got a 3-parter. Okay. So yes, it's Mercedes. It's got my dirty air. 2, Toto. I mean, you get up there, fine, whatever. Let the FIA do what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Don't sit in the garage. I don't know what that FaceTime was about.
No.
You seem to be smiling on the FaceTime, so it couldn't be serious. It's not like you took some like life-threatening family call.
No.
So get up there and cheer on your team.
Yeah.
Right.
You were happy enough to talk to your wife or child or what have you, but
it's not a good look.
No.
It's not a good look, and everybody
especially
around
when you
the world,
get a 1-2.
Everybody around the world noticed it.
Yeah.
So you get up and you do it.
Yeah. And I want to say, just piggybacking off, I mean, no, this is your dirty air.
Yeah, it's my dirty air.
Well, no, I was just going to say, considering last year when Lewis finished on the podium, and there was a couple of times that he didn't have anybody celebrating with him, his team wasn't there, you think they would have learned their lesson by now.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
That was a
So
bad look.
you get a 1-2, and Lewis was just getting third at that point, just getting third, but still.
It was a big accomplishment for me at
It was
that point.
big, yeah. So you're kind of falling back into that weird area. And again, a 1-2.
Emotional
this is a
management
great
would be good for Toto, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Anyway, sorry, your third part.
Yeah, everything's around. No, not around Mercedes. There's that. There was the Lewis celebration, which it just Mercedes in general this week. For as fantastic as they were in the race, it's just the attitude and the aura around Mercedes was. It was a big sticking point for me, and then obviously what we just talked about, the Formula One management. They can all go to hell with their swearing ban. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's childish. I think to try and corral a grown person's reactions, expressions, whatever, is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And in a situation like this, I mean, this is what we watch the sport for, not necessarily swearing, but we watch it for the emotion. We watch
passion.
It for, exactly. You know, if they're doing this on a couple of complaint emails or tweets or whatever, and if they're going to have so little of a backbone that they can't fight back on that or make a statement or, you know, protect their brand and their drivers, which are what brings them all the money, they can go fuck themselves.
You've had drivers in the past get out of their cars and almost beat each other up.
Fights. You had Schumacher run across the pit lane to go start a fight.
Like
they had Max Verstappen pushing around Ocon. Fantastic. But they broadcast that for the world to see.
And now you're going to say
this because a driver and engineer who have a great relationship. It just wasn't very nice.
This is not a normal office environment.
Like, this is not pull your testicles out of your throat.
Jesus.
Grow a pair of balls and just allow the sport to be the sport.
They all shake hands and make up at the end of it. It's fine.
It was ridiculous. That was, I'm still
fuming.
And I will be until this is put to bed. And all those sensitive fucks that sent emails to them just go away. But just don't watch the sport. Nobody wants you. Nobody wants you.
So on that note, we are on summer break. Gardening leave. It's not our gardening leave.
Where are you going for gardening leave? Got any plans for gardening leave?
No? I don't at the moment. No,
because we're not.
We're not on gardening leave. No, we'll be here.
We've got gardens, but we're not leaving.
So no race for the next 3 weeks. We'll have one on the 4th week.
Not till 4 weeks from now. But there are 3 weekends with nothing. They're on a mandatory break for 2.
Yes.
I guess they can go back to work after that.
But although we will be around.
Supposed to have a decision on Perez.
A decision from Perez, which I think
Perez.
Yes, because he's having a meeting tomorrow.
Which are they allowed to have? I guess they are.
I don't know. Not sure.
Whatever. Well, I don't think we're going to see him back. Do you think we're going to see him back? After summer break?
I think he will come back after the summer break. I don't think he's there in 2025. I think that nice brand new contract is gone.
Fair enough.
I think that brand new contract is gone, but I think they'll keep him till the end of the season.
I think they buy him out. And they've already got Ricardo on contract, so they just transfer that contract over to Red Bull, and they've got Liam Lawson on contract, so they're going to put him in a seat. And they're just going to eat his contract.
Yeah, it's possible. Anything's possible. Daniel did get a point today, so.
It's technically got like 6.
But so we'll be here giving you content.
We will have content.
Yes, over the next couple of weeks. But you can find us at Fresh Set Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, which is X, TikTok, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and
That's
YouTube.
all.
Did I
You
say
said
YouTube
YouTube.
already?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
So you can find us there, and we'll have more for you guys soon, next time.
Yep, absolutely. Grab a fresh set.
Bye.